All right. Good evening, everybody. This is the West University Historic Zone Advisory Board meeting for Tuesday, July 16th. It is 6:01 p.m. We'll go ahead and get started with a simple roll call of the board members that are here. So, Lou Specknagel,
Present.
present. Uh, who else have we got here? Rachel Sarah,
I'm here.
Jim Glock,
Present.
and looking down the list here. Am I missing any?
Sarah's here.
Oh, Sarah, there you are. Okay. Okay, Sarah Ferretto, present, and then Rick McDonald, present. So we have a quorum. Go on to item number 2 on the agenda, approval of the LAR. Did everybody have a chance to go look at the LAR from our last meeting? We have a motion to approve.
This is Rachel Sarah. I motion to approve.
Okay, we have a motion. Do I have a second?
This is Jim Glock. I'll second.
Okay, a motion, a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, aye.
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 Okay, got everybody. Trying to count the ayes. That's a sorry, I'm also acting as secretary, so pardon my slowness. All right, call to the audience. Any call to the audience today, Jody?
We did not receive any.
Okay. Thank you. All right, let's get to the meat of the meeting, our reviews. Item number 4A, 835, 837 North First Avenue. And Sonia, I understand you're going to be briefing or talking about this one today.
I'm Manny. I'm her son. I'm the actual owner.
Oh, Manny. Oh, okay.
Yeah, my mom just helps me with everything.
Okay.
Yeah. This is our first time, doing this, and this is our first time calling into you guys, so we're not really exactly sure what it is, we're supposed to talk about or say. We're getting kind of desperate with this property. Has been in the works for I believe going on 8 months, and it's just really expensive and becoming unsafe. We've had several break-ins. We've had the police arrest people there, vandalism, and now we're really trying to push the architect and just try to be more involved to get the process going with whatever it is you guys want us to do. We'll do it.
Okay. Appreciate that. And Damon, welcome to Damon Turner. So since this is your first time here, the idea for today's meeting is I think you provided some material to the city in advance. I think most of us have seen it. Need you to kind of walk us through the project. I mean, I appreciate you've probably been working on it for a while from what we can tell, but this is the first time we're looking at it. So we're reviewing it as if it's a proposal of work to be done, although I think we all understand you've already accomplished some of the work or maybe a significant chunk of it. So maybe what you could start with is walking us through what you have done or we're proposing to do with using the materials that you presented or you gave to the city.
Okay.
So Manny, you can share your screen and do you know how to share your screen in Zoom?
Yeah, we're clicking share screen.
Yeah, and you are a co-host, so you have to just pick your item. Once you hit share screen, the pages that you have open will pop up there. So you just pick the one and then you hit the share button and it'll share it out there.
Were we supposed to have like digital? We have everything printed out.
printed out in front of you on paper.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, yeah, that's how Zoom works, is to have it digital. But
It was all submitted. I think you guys have it all in there with the agendas PDFs because that's where I printed it out from.
yeah, so if you don't have it electronically, I can share my screen and you can just tell me where you want me to, which item you want me to show so that you can talk about that.
Um,
I'll,
okay, that's fine. And just so you guys know, we're under the impression this was way further along. Our architect this has been 8 months now. So for this to be the first time that we're talking to you about this project is extremely disappointing. Um, um, we thought the only issue at this point that was remaining was the windows having to change the color. I believe he submitted some other pictures of the vinyl windows from other properties very close vicinity, and trying to come up with a remedy that will make you guys happy with the look of it and just conform with what the neighborhood wants to see.
I will tell you that no, this board has not seen this project before. There are items that are required for the review. I had a fair number of conversations with your architect on submitting these items. And so it took him a while to get these, but it's also a code enforcement action because obviously you did this work without a permit. Right now on the screen, I have the elevation showing, but I have opened up the other items too. So if you want to start here and walk the board around, just give your presentation, then they can ask questions as need be.
Okay, so I'm seeing what you have up. The only thing that was done to the outside of the property was the windows were replaced. Um, Per just normal, we were under the impression as long as they were the exact same size, that was okay. But obviously it wasn't because it was historic. So they're white vinyl windows that are in there. We were hoping that if we changed the color of them to like um, a bronze brown, something that looks more historic and rustic, that would suffice. If there was any that per the code needed to be changed, the style, our contractor can do whatever needs to be done. We're just kind of looking for the green light. The roof wasn't completed, no stucco was completed. Um, um, we were trying to get permits to do panel upgrades. That's kind of what triggered a chain of events that got us to here.
Was there other pages that you wanted me to go to?
You can go to the next page. I could just kind of explain everything that I'm seeing.
Okay, well, that's the inventory form. Here's your examples in the neighborhood. Does this work?
Yeah, so like these pictures are of the exterior, so nothing was done other than the windows to the exterior. I believe the air conditioner, the location of it was originally an issue, but I believe he submitted some something because the property next door has the air conditioning unit in the same spot. So I thought we were past that already. But other than that, the exterior is the same as how I got it.
And this is your development zone.
Correct.
Um, and these are your examples of other properties?
I believe, yes, that's what the architect submitted.
They should all be within your development zone.
Yeah.
Hey, this is Damon. I guess I have a comment. I know I missed the beginning, so maybe I missed some disclaimers or something that would be relevant to what I'm about to say. But I guess I live in the neighborhood, just for your awareness, so I have, some of the same limitations you have on the house I own. Um, but we have a design guideline for the historic homes in West University, and I think it specifically prohibits the use of vinyl windows. So I recognize you're showing that there are other violations within your development zone or within the neighborhood, but I think our position as the board, we're supposed to sort of defend the design guidelines. And I think we would say that those vinyl windows are disallowed. We would try to encourage you to use windows that are more historically appropriate. Our design guidelines would allow for wood windows or steel windows, which it sounds like I think there were steel windows in there that you've replaced.
What would aluminum windows suffice?
No, I think we specifically disallow aluminum as well. I think what our guidelines allow are,
I believe this is I'm new to this. If you weren't here at the beginning, I kind of explained this is my first time, so bear with me. If I'm not 100% up to speed with everything. And under my impression with the architect and the whole 8 months and 60, 70, 80, $90,000 worth of payments and repairs and vandalism and break-ins, in my understanding is we were getting to this point to ask you guys if you would allow the windows to stay if we change the color to make them look like older windows, or like you said, if it's a must and we have to replace them, just kind of let us know. That's not color painting them is not an option. You have to change them. But whatever it is that you guys absolutely have to have, I completely understand. I'm just out of time because I'm just out of money, to be honest. I just can't afford it, and that's my fault.
I understand. I think Jody can step in here, or maybe Rick can step in, but just for your awareness, I mean, we're an advisory board. We don't give you permission to do something or to not do something. What we do, I think, and again, someone step in if I'm not saying the right things here, but we make recommendations. And then I think it's really up to the city to either agree or disagree with our recommendation. But we have design guides that kind of specifically disallow what you're asking us to allow. And so I think myself, I'll say my opinion is we would recommend against it. I don't think that means that's the end of the road for you. I think you have various ways to kind of appeal that and so on. But our kind of role is to make advisements based on what makes sense architecturally for the neighborhood. And this specific thing about windows have specific guidelines.
And
So Manny, just for clarification, and I spent a good amount of time talking to your architect, so it's unfortunate that he didn't pass this information along to you. The property is, as Damon said, historically designated. So this is your first step in the review process. West University will make a recommendation or some kind of recommendation, and then we will docket you for the plans review subcommittee, and they will also make a recommendation. And both of those recommendations will be forwarded to the Director of Planning and Development Services, who will then issue a decision letter. Based on that decision letter, you'll need to, revise your plans or to reflect those conditions, if that's what it is, or you would then have the opportunity to appeal. If you appealed the decision of the director, it goes to mayor and council. And it typically takes, once you appeal, you have 14 days to appeal. It'll take probably 6 to 8 weeks to get onto the schedule for mayor and council.
Okay, so I'm not in a position to fight or question or try to ask for you guys or anybody to make a what is it, like, let this slide. If you tell me or you guys say this has to be steel windows or wood, and I could pay my contractor and we get them ordered and we get it done and we move on, I will do that tomorrow. I'm not, this, what, all the stuff you just said, meeting with this and elevating it to this person. I mean, I'm already 8 months into this and I'm barely here. And you know, you live in this neighborhood, you know how much these properties are worth and you know how much a mortgage costs. So to be at the mercy of people's times that only meet every months and months can go by, like I just can't afford it. And I don't want to throw in the hat and have the next person have to start this over and then you guys have to, do this with them also. So if there's a way to just make everybody happy, I would rather spend the money on getting the house looking the way you want it than making payments to try to fight for something that you guys might not even want at the end anyways.
Right.
If that's like makes sense.
That makes sense, Manny. And I appreciate the predicament you're in. Like Damon and other members of the board, I live in this neighborhood too, and I've had to go through this process, and I appreciate it. The not only complexity of it, but the cost. If we stay on this picture for a moment,
This is the Google Street View, just so you know.
Yeah.
before the
So that
windows were removed.
many of us are familiar with this house. I walk my dogs by it all the time. I've seen its evolution since I guess you acquired it. What is required by, to go back to what Damon said, this advisory board have a set of guidelines. It's very unfortunate that your architect did not either look at them himself or share them with you, because they're very clear on windows and doors. But if I stay on this view for a moment, you have 3 windows visible in this view, 1 facing the street and 2 facing to the north. And they are all either single or double hung wood windows that are original to the property. And you're proposing having changed them not only in material to vinyl, which is not allowed by our guidelines, but also to remove the double hung feature and replace them with sliders, which is what is in there now. What we want is windows that look like the original windows. That is to say, they look like double hung windows or single hung, depending on what the function of them are. So the one that's kind of to the right in this picture of the door, the front door, is a single hung or double hung window, and it's been now replaced with a vinyl slider. And
Okay.
so it's not just a color issue, and it's not just a material issue. The idea is the house needs to be restored, since you're making these changes, to the way it was originally built.
I love it. I mean, if you would have told me this 8 months ago, I would have got these ordered the next day.
Regrettably, your architect, I guess, didn't know or think, or I don't know what, but
Yeah, well, I can do that. I can do that. I like that. I mean, that's very fair. It's understandable. Like I said, I would rather spend the money on nice windows that the neighborhood's gonna like. Yeah, this house is gonna be beautiful when it's done.
And believe me, we're all here to want to help you beautify this house. So
yeah, and the lady that I bought it from, she was like almost an original owner. So like she's one of my tenants in another property. So she's like 80, almost 90 years old, and she's always asking me about it when when the family takes care of the rent. And so I know that the property, like it means a lot to me. And on the back of the property, I will even put this one back, but the property on the backside that you can't see from the street view actually had vinyl windows on it. On the backside, in the back window, yeah. Turn it.
So I don't disbelieve you. I will tell you, and I think Damon kind of alluded to it, that
sometimes people do stuff that they shouldn't.
Sometimes people do stuff, and this board needs to advise to the city what should be done. That whole addition with the staircase that we're looking at right now and the awning over it, obviously, I would bet wasn't permitted in the first place. But when we get asked, is this okay or not okay, we kind of go back to our guidelines and say, well,
okay,
this, vinyl sliders aren't allowed, vinyl's not allowed. I can't really, that addition, I'm sure wasn't original. That little pop out wasn't probably original to the house. So, we could have a conversation around that, I suppose, but the other windows that have all been replaced, should have been made to, yeah, see here, if you look at that view, that particular view, again, it's pretty obvious from looking at it that the window on the right, upper right, was a single or double hung window. The one with the swamp cooler in it probably was the same. And I know the swamp cooler is not there, but now they're both vinyl windows. The, whatever it is, lower windows, it's hard to tell what those were originally because you've got there's screens over them, you can't see. But that's the kind of stuff where you come back and say, all right, well, here's what it looks like, or here's what it was originally. And we would want to help guide you to how you get something that maybe is better, more efficient, more
Sorry,
modern,
guys, I'm on a conference
but
call.
looks like the original house.
Okay. I can work with you guys on that and order exactly what it is you guys,
Yeah.
we could find something that works. That's super.
And there's
super
plenty
easy.
of windows that you can choose from. They don't have to be all wood. They can be clad wood. That's allowed in our guidelines, metal clad. So, you have some options. Many people do this. But unfortunately, sounds like you got some counsel maybe from your architect to make some changes that the guidelines specifically prohibit. And we cannot, to use your term, let it slide. We have to tell the city this is the no.
I'm with you. I like that. I mean, I can do that. That's no problem. As far, do you see that on this picture, the siding there?
Yep.
If the contractor replaces it to the same, is that okay? Or do you guys want to see something different or stucco, or is that okay?
No comments from the board on that one. That one makes my head hurt a little bit.
I know this is hard to hear, but what we're used to seeing is plans presented to us so that we can judge plans. So it's hard to respond verbally when you say, here, look at this image. What do you think of the siding? It's
Yeah.
better for you to present the plans and tell us what your intentions are, and then we can comment.
But if you're not, like, let's just say I'm just repairing it, do I need a plan to repair something exactly the same way? I'm trying to really like make you guys happy, and like there's always going to be a way to stop me. I feel like
I think it gets a little. Jody may want to speak up here, but I think some of this gets into whether or not a permit is required for specific work. But what the board tends to favor is when something is historic and it's not already in violation, we like the replacements to be like for like. So as best you can, we'd recommend you replace something that's something that's been approved before or something that's truly historic. We try to encourage people to use the same types of materials, the same types of look, that kind of thing.
Okay.
And I would say that Damon said exactly what I would say. Per your plans, you are showing that area as stucco. You're removing the window and you're proposing to.
Actually, Jody, it's the lower right hand we were just looking at.
Is it the
Yeah.
lower this one?
Here.
You're
Yeah.
still showing as stucco. I still
Yeah,
have it
no, it's
correct.
still stucco. I'm just saying it's the other
Yeah,
drawing.
you're correct. Yeah, so you still
Okay.
have it as stucco, but this is the, I mean, so a right around the corner is this, which had the steel casement window or vinyl window there.
Vinyl
I
window.
understand.
Probably not original.
I understand. Okay, that makes sense what you're saying. And excuse me for just like seeing the picture and bringing it up, but you're right. From the plan, it's showing it to go to stucco. It's in the plan. It would look better, and I guess it is done the way the gentleman said it should be done. So it's been so long since these plans were made, and since I've even been to this house other than to, kick homeless out of it and arrest people and pick up needles from heroin users. I kind of forgot all of this because these plans they're pretty old. They're so old that the architect let them expire, and it was hard to get them to
Mm.
get the city to renew them.
So I guess I would say that given the situation that you're in and not having, we don't have any views of what this house looked like when it was registered, except for the front view on the inventory sheet. Um, the up, yeah, that view. But if you go back to what was just being shown, I'm going to make a comment and then
This one?
yeah, that one right there. I'm gonna make a comment, kind of open it up, make sure that the board agrees or disagrees or whatever. If I look at the upper left-hand photo or picture there, that pop out, I call it a pop out, from what we see in the pictures is clearly not original to the house. If you want to get rid of that window, I don't know that I'd have a problem with that, which is what it looks like you're doing. If you want to stucco it to make it look like the rest of the stucco in the house, I don't personally have a problem with it. And by the way, I'm not adjudicating this. We're going to have a conversation with the board. And the same thing on the lower right, that pop out, which is right now some cheesy looking board. I don't know what it is. It's probably not exterior rated board in the first place, just looking at it. You want to stucco that and keep it the way it currently appears. I guess I don't personally have a problem with it. I do think we all have a problem with taking out all the double hung windows or single hung windows and making sliders out of them and using vinyl. We can't approve that.
That's fair. I you know, I'll work with that. That makes, I understand that completely. So,
Okay. I mean, to the other members, I mean, I just stated my opinion. I'm not ruling. With respect to the pop out in the upper right and lower left, does anybody else have a comment?
I agree with your comments.
Yeah.
I agree. It brings consistency to the whole property.
Yeah, I think it'll look better. The wood paneling is, you know, it's not gonna last, it isn't lasting and it won't last. So it really should be something more durable.
can I ask a question? I don't know how, like, you know, if you live in the neighborhood, or, you know, if, would it ever be possible if we got to a point where me and the board or a couple people just went over there and you just point out with me and my contractor and you say everything you want, and that's just how we'll do it?
So Manny, bear in mind, the board makes a recommendation, then the project is submitted to or docketed for the plans review subcommittee. They also make a recommendation. So you will also need to present to them. They will also make a recommendation. Both recommendations are then forwarded to the Director of Planning and Development Services, who will actually make the decision on the project and any conditions associated with it.
Okay.
The board, it's the prerogative of the board if they want to meet you out there and have a fuller discussion, but ultimately it would delay your process because you would need to come back to this full board and they would have to take action, because it can't just be one member taking action.
Yeah, I was
Okay.
going to add, unless a quorum of the board met at your house. I mean, I could come over to your house tomorrow and say, yeah, this is what I would do if I were you, but that doesn't carry any weight at all.
Well, maybe if I can't figure this out, you know, within this next time before you guys meet again, maybe that'll be the next route. Because I feel like the windows are something that are handleable. The outside, you know, there's very little that's been done, so that's pretty
Yeah.
pretty self-explanatory. I understand where you guys are coming from. Is there anything else in question that you can recommend or that you think I
Well,
should?
let me suggest to you, and then we'll kind of see where the board wants to go here. It is probably in your best interest to take the suggestions that we're making with respect to restoring the windows to the original. Do you have photographs of all 4 elevations of the house before this work was done to show where it looks like you do, right? So
Yeah.
I mean, you can get them from Google Street View there, because you can see all 4 sides pretty much.
So if you had come to us, going back to what Damon said, what we're used to is, here's the house I have, here's what it looks like right now. You know, look at the one over there to your north with the black windows, all those double hung windows that are in there are single hung. I think those are all double hung. If you showed us that and then said, I propose that we're gonna put in Pella XYZ double pane, double hung, aluminum clad wood windows in there, then that's what we're used to seeing. We say, okay, it's like it would appear to the same from the street view to be the same, and we'd be fine with that. You know?
Okay. And it's called aluminum clad double hung.
There's companies, there's Pella, Anderson. We're not going to tell you how to go do this. This is what your architect unfortunately should have done. But there's metal clad windows made by reputable companies you can go get from Home Depot or Lowe's or whatever that are made to fit your windows opening specifications that look like the ones building the home to your north.
Okay.
And have those installed. And if you had the before pictures of the house, now you're gonna, some of them are gonna be tricky. That front window, if you go to the, thank you, Jody. It looks to me, and it's hard to tell, but it looks like the left and the right windows are single or double hung, and I can't tell on the front because it looks like there's a screen or something in there. So that's gonna, that'll be a little bit more custom to do that. But that's all doable, and that's what we're used to seeing. Is here's what my house looks like today, and I really want to, I just want to put in windows that are operable, that are more energy efficient, and we don't allow vinyl, but we do allow all wood, which is what's at my house, and we do allow clad wood. Nowadays, I think that's a relatively new
Now that it's very black and white. It's clear as day. Like I agree with you. I understand completely. I wish I would have talked to the board 8 months ago. So I can do that. I'll get working on that. Is there anything else that's an issue for you guys at this point? And I'm only asking because I don't know if I'm supposed to bring the issues up or.
Well, let's have a little quasi discussion to the board.
Rick, this is Sarah Fajardo. My question, and I'm not the architect, so this is just a question to the two architects that we have. Is there a reason why the architect is not presenting this to us? I mean, isn't this
presenting because he didn't show up?
Well, but is it appropriate for this gentleman to talk to another architect to get help? Because this is, I mean, when I did my windows and I did my doors and I did all this stuff to my house, I had people who did all this. I didn't do any of this. I wouldn't have known what to do. This is all, I mean, it's mind-boggling to me that a professional who's working in a historic neighborhood is not doing his or her job. So I don't know, is it appropriate to get another architect involved or no?
I would say, Sarah, that's up to the property owner to figure out if they want to move forward with the current architect or they want to contract out to another architect. That's really not the purview.
No, I'm not talking to the city, Jody. I'm asking the architects on our board. I'm talking to Rachel, Sarah. I'm talking to Damon. I want to know what their opinion is.
Damon's not an architect, by the way.
Oh, I thought he was.
No, he's an
It just
engineer.
seems to me
He could
this
be.
guy has been hung out to dry, and I don't think it's very nice.
Yeah, I guess my opinion is I don't think the board can really tell a homeowner who they can or can't hire because they can't tell them.
Right.
And that was
I really appreciate you,
guys are completely
speaking up for me because I feel the same way. And even the judge, from the city felt the same way with, me being by myself at the last court and our plans being expired. This plans and architects are not cheap. And, 8 months worth of payments on a $500,000 property isn't cheap either. But I felt like I was at the mercy because I just don't have the funds to start over and give another architect another 5, 6, 10 grand just to start me over. So I was hoping we were close.
I'm going to have to, we have to be respectful of the agenda that we have and the time. Sarah, I totally agree with Sarah's point. If I were in your position, I'd be questioning, given that you're this far into it and you're now realizing what we will tell you, we're used to seeing the professionals that homeowners hire understanding and doing and following the process better than this individual, but we can't tell you what to do. We simply can't. That's up to you. And I do understand your financial situation, whether it's, continuing with this gentleman who's already proven maybe not to be the right person for you, for the historic neighborhood or not. I don't know. But we are where we are, and to get to where you want to be, there's some changes that need to be made. I
I can handle it. I feel like I have at least I have something to do now. I know
Yeah.
exactly.
and I think we can to help
Rick,
you.
I'm prepared to craft a motion.
Okay.
Oh,
So
before you craft a motion, can you guys speak to the basement windows and if you have any thoughts on
I was going to cover that in the motion. I'm also going to
Okay.
cover the rooftop HVAC unit. So
Okay.
if I might, let me preface this. I see that the plans include three areas that I think the board has purview and should be commenting on. And I'm going to approach this from the standpoint as though none of the work has occurred. The three areas are a rooftop gas pack air conditioner. The second is the replacement of windows, both at the floor level and at the basement. And the third is the treatment of the addition and its the replacement of the addition's cladding and the material that we would find acceptable. That's not just now. Those are my three areas of that I'm going to address. Try to address in my motion. Before I go there, I'd welcome any comments from the other board members with respect to the rooftop unit. I just want to note that the house to the north has two of them. However, they are not immediate. Well, one of them from the east elevation, you can't see. The other one from the north elevation looking south, you can see. In this case, the unit that he did install, because we saw in that Google Street View that there had been nothing up there before, but now there is. I guess we need to comment on the appropriateness of that placement of that HVAC system. Secondly is the windows. I think we've talked about the windows, and we certainly have recommendations for those based upon the Google Street View of the living quarters. We're gonna have to struggle with what to do with the basement windows. And then thirdly, we talked about the replacement of the exterior material on the addition on the south west corner. So my motion would be is that we accept the roof. And I'm going to characterize it as though none of this has happened. So my motion would be that we would accept the rooftop HVAC system in relation to that. With respect to the windows, my motion would be that we would like to see the windows be double hung windows and to mimic the appearance of the windows as seen in the Google Street View that is available online, with the challenges associated with that front window in particular. Those windows need to either be wood or aluminum clad wood. Finally, the recladding of the addition on the south west side should be done with a stucco and a stucco finish that does not necessarily match the stucco of the existing structure, so that one doesn't assume that it was an original addition. So that's the nature of my motion. Oh, and then with respect to the basement windows, I would recommend that they be single pane aluminum clad or wood windows and not be able to be opened, just because I don't know what was there. So that's my motion, just to get the ball rolling. No pride of authorship. I just wanted to try to move this along. I also want to preface, maybe I should have prefaced this. I'm stating this motion in an attempt to keep this moving so that the owners don't have to come back to us. I think that they don't need to have to go and deal with all these suggestions and then get thrown back to us for us to have to revisit them next month. I'm hoping that this motion can go through subsequent reviews and get before the Planning and Development Services Director so that a letter of direction can be offered so that they can move along and get this behind them. And I guess one final observation I think might be appropriate to note is that I didn't see any architectural seal in any of those drawings. I don't think an architect prepared those drawings, and I don't think that they benefited by an architect even helping them with this. I think this fellow is a builder, happens to know how to draft, but I didn't see any credentials, couldn't find him on the State Board of Registered Contractors, let alone the Board of Technical Registration. So with that, if anyone cares to second to try to move this along, so be it. Otherwise, let's hear another motion.
Damon, I'll second.
Okay.
Hey, I had a question about your motion. Now that we have a second, we can discuss. You indicated that the basement windows should be single pane. Do you have any objection if because they're replacement windows, if they're dual pane?
No, none whatsoever.
I don't
I
think you meant single pane. I think you meant single light.
Yeah.
Then
Can anyone hear me?
yes.
Okay, I had to jump out. My microphone stopped working on my computer. So they're also indicated as egress windows. So they have to be, yeah, I think you're right, Jody, that it was supposed to be full, like one light. And in order for them to qualify as egress based on their size, they could not be a double hung or something. So they're shown right now as awning windows, I believe, which would be the only thing that would meet an egress standard for that size. So that was going to be my comment before, but my mic wasn't working.
So you might want to just clarify that comment that the basement windows could be dual pane, single light awning windows to meet egress. And Damon will have to reaffirm his second.
Okay, I've captured that. So
Basement windows would be single light, dual pane awning windows to facilitate egress.
Still second.
all
Thank
right.
you.
So we have a motion and a second. We've had some discussion. Any further discussion?
I'm allowed to discuss even though I seconded, right?
Yep,
Absolutely.
you are. Absolutely.
I don't know if this is, I don't think the actual plans that you guys were showing are online. And so I didn't get to really digest them because you only showed that one area, but did we review everything in the plans?
No, good point. We did not review the vents or vent and the movement of the electrical.
Okay, so need to address those things, right?
Yes, we do.
But do we want to keep this motion as is and do a second motion to address those things?
I think in the interest of time, we should do just that.
Okay.
So unless anyone has an objection, that's my preference is that we do that because we have a formed motion here and we have one other modification, another motion we can make.
I would Well, okay, so you haven't voted on the existing motion,
You
but
want to
it's
just,
on, it's on the table.
all right, you want me to amend it?
Yeah,
Can we
sorry.
talk about what's going on with the fence?
The fence?
Is that what they just said, the fence?
Bent.
What was the other thing?
Vent.
Oh, vent. I was
Can I
like, I
ask a
don't see
question,
anything
please?
about a fence.
Yeah.
I was so
So
confused.
there's two on the, if you look at the drawing that's in front of you guys now, on
Yeah,
the
I see
west
that now.
elevation and north
I thought they
elevation,
said fence. That's why I was confused. No, we're
there's-
good.
there's vents, or
Yeah.
what they're called. It's wall mount mechanical unit, but they're drawn as if they are vents. So what are those things? I guess, are they like a louvered vent? Because that's kind of what it looks like.
Shoot, west side of the building.
New wall mount mechanical unit.
So that is a, I believe that's the entrance for a second air conditioning unit. That's where the air gets inside for the basement.
So they're vents. They're
Vents.
What
And
I-
that
what I-
area you can't see. It's hidden through the front yard around the corner. And the water heater is also located back there.
I
So
see
you
water.
can't see it from the alley or the back. You can
Right.
only see it from if you walk through the front yard and hit a left around the corner.
But the west is, yeah, that you can see that if you're walking on the alley. So that's again, that's letting air in.
Shoot.
Jody, you're good at this. I usually make people ill when I'm doing this. So it's behind.
Sorry, I shot by a little bit there, so.
Yeah. So what that air intake is
Mm.
behind that chain link fence,
Correct.
which by the way, okay, so is the chain link fence staying or is that going? I don't remember if that's there anymore.
I believe it is still up, but if
Yeah.
we needed to change it to something better, wood,
Yeah.
whatever.
But the intent is that at the low level, there's a louvered vent that is going to suck air in.
Yeah, that's down at that's at the bottom level.
If it's gonna look like what it does on the elevation drawing, I don't have an issue with it. But if it's like those really ugly looking, like throw it on the wall mini split systems, I don't think people are gonna be happy with that.
Uh,
So I wish we kind of knew better what it actually looked like.
it sits on the floor. It's not up high, and it enters in and it pushes the air inside the basement from there.
So it's like a condenser.
Yes,
Okay.
it sits on the floor.
Jody, I have a question.
Sure.
Is it your preference to have a single motion?
Yeah, I think she's saying that. So
Well, I'm saying you have a motion on the floor right now. So you can either withdraw it and do a new motion, or you can amend it. But if you, because the way your motion was worded earlier, it was basically approval. So once that motion happens, you've taken away your ability to add other items to it. That's what I'm saying.
We're good with that.
Well, I think we have to address all of the things that are in
Yeah.
the plans.
right. Okay, so okay. So let's I need us to kind of move. We got two other items on the agenda. So
Very quickly, so
in the regards to the electrical, the electrical contractor said that's the best place for it, that measures the distance from any doors or windows and from the pole line.
So I know where your electrical is now, having looked at it, and I like what you're proposing a lot better. I think there's less of a chance of the building burning down.
Yeah.
Right there.
It's the electrical right now is invisible in those, well, it's kind of there to me. It's near
It's
the,
up in the left-hand corner.
yeah, it's up there and by the
Oh,
roof. It's there. And it's scary to look at as an
So the
engineer.
riser would pop through, it would come straight across, so it wouldn't have to be on that back wall anymore. So it would be safer, higher, and cleaner because it has to hang down to touch that back wall.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think we're saying we have anything against those things. We just want to understand what they are so we can make our motion. And I think we're good. So Jim, do you want to modify your motion?
So
There's-
someone could
there's
help
one-
me here. On the west and the north building elevations, there's new wall mount electrical units mentioned for each. Are those one and the same or are those two? Are there two
Two.
new wall mount mechanical units?
There's
There's
two.
two.
Okay, all right, thank you. I would like to withdraw my motion and restate it, please.
All right.
How do I, what's the appropriate?
You just did it, so state it. I'm trying to I'll write it down.
Before we go on, I think, unless we missed it, I don't think we talked about the doors. I assume that at least some of these doors are new.
The
Yeah,
doors
so
are in
maybe-
the same location.
Great, thank you. I'll add doors to my motion.
So,
Yeah, add doors to your motion in terms of the profiles and things,
so.
material
material.
and pattern.
So are any of the doors that are currently on the building, original, or are they all?
I did not have anybody replace any of the exterior doors. They're all the same ones from when I purchased the property and in the same they're the same from when I purchased it. I don't know if they changed them over the years, but I did not.
Change. Have they been changed? Since, with all the other work that occurred?
No.
Okay. Do we need to address the doors, Jody?
well, you do have two. This one says new
That's a
water heater with enclosure. So
Water
it's,
heaters.
yeah, I mean that has a door. I mean,
Well,
Typical-
that's like a steel door. Like,
yeah,
it's like
that's
a
a,
little
like a
cage.
little steel enclosure. The whole thing is an enclosure that pops out, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean that could be painted. Otherwise, it's going to be shiny steel.
Yeah, we could paint it if, like,
If I don't have to include doors, I'm prepared to ask the board to allow me to rescind my motion and remake it. Is that, do we have to vote to rescind to,
Nope.
No, you can just rescind.
okay. I'd like to rescind the motion and restate it, please.
Okay, go for it.
Okay, so I'd like to restate the motion as follows, and not necessarily. Let's see, what order did I do before?
You did the air conditioner first.
That the rooftop HVAC system is acceptable. That the first story windows be double hung wooden or steel clad wooden doors, double hung. That the basement doors be single light, dual pane. Oh, what's the term of phrase? Help me.
Awning
Well,
egress.
Awning egress doors.
Awning egress windows, thank you. That the addition be reclad with a stucco finish to not match the stucco finish of the remainder of the house. That the new mechanical units as shown on the north and west building elevations are acceptable. That the placement of the electrical panels are acceptable. That the metal water heater enclosure is acceptable, but should be painted the color of the stucco portion of the house behind it. That's the extent of my motion. Did I miss anything?
We have a motion. Go ahead.
Oh, wait, do your second.
Yeah, we need a second.
Second.
Damon seconds.
Did you mention anything about dual pane?
I wrote
That I
dual
missed.
Single
pane.
light, dual pane.
Okay, just checking, sorry.
I wrote dual pane. All right. Any other discussion? Hearing none, we have a motion, we have a second, we've had discussion. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
You got one,
I,
two.
Can I be a jerk and ask you to reread the motion?
You can't, well, yes to both. All right, I'm going to read it. We accept the rooftop HVAC as proposed. We want the first story windows to be double hung wood or wood clad to match original. We want the basement windows to be dual pane, single light, awning egress windows. We want the pop outs on the west and south elevations to be stuccoed. We accept the mechanical units as presented. That's what I've got. Oh, and the electrical is acceptable as presented.
And the water heater enclosure.
Oh, and the water heater enclosure. Okay, water heater, but painted to match the color of the building.
Okay, I vote yes. Thank you.
Okay, 3. Who hasn't said something yet? I've not. I need.
This is Sarah. I say aye.
Okay, Sarah, I. Rick, I.
Oh, Lou.
Lou?
Lou's and I.
Lou's and I. Okay. Okay. Okay, so motion is carried unanimously. And guys, Manny, Sonia, with that, you can incorporate these changes. You have to go to the PRS next, Plans Review Subcommittee next, as Jody had said. Best to have incorporated this into your presentation. It'll help you a little bit with the meeting next time. And then from there, as Jody said, it goes to the director.
Okay. Thank you all for your help and understanding. We really appreciate it. So
Thank
big.
you.
This was big.
All right. Good luck.
Sorry you're in this predicament.
Oh,
It's not fair. So,
I really appreciate those words just to hear it. I felt like I was going crazy, but thank you all, and we'll make you guys proud when we're done.
right.
What you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Good luck. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Hi, Mom. Thank God you did all this. This was not even.
Hey guys, you want to probably mute.
Okay. How about if I leave meeting?
Okay, so item 4B, 812 East Speedway Boulevard. Noel, I assume you're presenting for this one?
Yes, sir.
All right. You're
Alrighty, so-
and presenting to us, so
Yeah, and let's see. So we were going to start. I apologize that the with the new construction Curtis here, correct?
all right. So you want to do that first. So we're going to start with item-
Your preference. I don't know if it'd be easier to just do the demo real quick on 10:30, or I think that's probably
demo?
the faster of the two, in my opinion. But up to you.
Well, it's next on the agenda. Why don't we just do the demo?
Alrighty. I apologize. I've got like 47 windows open here. So
Oh, no, you're right. The demo was the third on the agenda. Let's do 812 East Speedway, new construction. Yes.
Okay, no problem. Well, again, thank you, Noel Grimsman, Senior Urban Planner at Snell Wilmer. And here with yet another piece of the capstone project, the Odyssey that you'll have been so helpful on over the last few years as we've gone through the process. And so this is a courtesy review for the design package for the new construction. And so let's see if I can get this to work. Okay, so we're working through the application package. Basically what you have is pretty much all the parts of where they're at right now. Kind of in the interest of time, I was going to kind of skip to the meat, but feel free to interrupt me if there's something particular you wanted to talk about. But basically, I've formatted it along the lines of the checklist, running through some of the items that obviously that we need as we start building this. And I don't know on the narrative itself, if that's something you prefer to give some feedback on, or again, I don't really think I need to sit here and read it. So if anybody had read it and had any comments or questions, be happy to return to that. But generally, going through all of the UDC and other criteria for the findings, that's essentially what this document is doing as it walks through the design guidelines and some of the other things that are in the main gate overlay. What makes this application a little unusual is we've got the two elements playing with each other, the main gate overlay as well as the historic overlay. So there's a little bit of items here that address specifically the main gate overlay, and then there are some that do address some of the historic considerations that we look at. So, but I think I'll get into the documents that are a little bit more interesting. But again, this is the checklist that it's based off of. Again, just following along with the city checklists. The houses that are being retained on the site. One of the other things is we looked at some information on those as well, which we'll be bringing back actual applications kind of separate for those two as far as the rehab plans, but they are on the site, which obviously you're all familiar with. So I will see if this thing's gonna be. I'm trying to do this from home because my computer here is not as good. All righty, so into the site plan. So we have on the site plan kind of the technical civil drawing, illustrating the various levels of the building as well as the parking calculations and building setbacks, etc. All of the new building provisions do match up with the adopted main gate overlay amendments. These are all the fun-filled technical notes that the civil has to put in there. And then you start getting a little bit into some of the streetscape treatment, which we have got a little bit more detail in the landscaping plan as well. But it is a somewhat, it again complies with the main gate overlay, focused on a lot of hardscape, detached sidewalks, and some detailing. Again, you can see the materials that show up. And then one of the things we're adding to the plans is there's a little bit more detail needs to go in around the existing homes that are being retained. So we'll bring that forward in the next iteration. But that was, as the plans were evolving, again, the various floors of the building. Happy to answer any questions like that. And then this is more into the grading and drainage plan. So you're getting a little bit more detail on how the infrastructure works here, everything being obviously underground, subterranean in the garage, storage. And let's see, let me get to a little more design fun here as I get past all my technical stuff. Familiar with all the houses that are there, so obviously we're all familiar with those. Surrounding area imagery. So we did, do the assessment. This needs a little bit of updating. Some part of my comments. But basically, we've got kind of an eclectic context here, as you're all familiar, particularly along Euclid. So this gives an idea of what's in the area around us, as well as obviously some of the sites that are existing today that we're all familiar with as well. And so that's sort of the context plan. As you can see, as you turn the corner at Speedway, and particularly the character changes pretty dramatically on Speedway. These are the existing elevations, what's on site, which should look very familiar because they're all the buildings we dealt with last month. And proposed elevations. So this is where we start getting into the new build and the actual elevations themselves. And there we go. So very, again, similar to what we walked through the zoning process, everybody. It's, the a modern design with the townhouse style treatment and scale along the edge. So the darker element here is that townhouse height of detail, and then the building stepping up beyond. EIFS finish on portions of the building, lots of window fenestration. Again, an attempt here to really delineate, I think, the two, that lower level and the upper level of the building. You can see in here are two retained buildings and how they kind of sit. I've got some cross sections that kind of show the relationship between the setbacks along that edge. You can see there's some uniformity in there. I'll get to that in a second. And then this is the Speedway side. Again, the kind of commercial corner frontage, even though the use won't be commercial, the overlay does require commercial storefront treatment at the corner to keep that feel. So we bring that through and around the building, and then again, it steps up as it heads towards the neighbors beyond. And let's see here. This is the back side, so it's come on. Sorry, my computer. This is the back side. So this is the alley side. So the side nobody really sees much, but again, even through here, the architect has brought the design around the building, and you can see the garage entry, and then some of the terrain. Gives you kind of an idea too how the terrain moves a little bit there to the south. And then other one might be of more interest is the south elevation. So this is the side looking up from the Udall Center. Again, you see the existing elevations, the existing retained homes, and then the building beyond. And I think let's see what else we got in this package. We're going to go in zone map. We already kind of talked about that. Renderings. Here we go. So the flat renderings are always kind of, or the flat drawings are always kind of boring. I always prefer renders. Start to get an idea of what the building is doing. So this is that corner Speedway in Euclid, and again, that commercial corner treatment. Because of some of the topography, we get some of those step elements there, and then the planters with the wide sidewalks. You can see the trees wrapping around. Again, more planter opportunities and how the building transitions. And then this is just a closer look, and this gives you a better idea of some of the color banding and things. And again, trying to find some colors that we find in some of the buildings around us, as well as using the shade details and elements in the windows. You can see that how they've introduced a lot of sort of in and out, so to speak, to provide the shading. The main entry off of Speedway, so you can kind of see the green element there to draw your attention to the main door, as well as our porte cochere off the alleyway. And then looking at it from those retained houses, the programming in those still hasn't been figured out, but area in front of them, creates, I think, a neat opportunity. So this one takes a run at if it was to go some sort of, if it was some resident amenity element, maybe there's some outdoor seating. So that's kind of the idea here. And then you can see those 2-story units heading north. And then this one here gives you a better idea of that looking straight across the street from Euclid. And this tries to detail a little bit of what's going on at those townhouse units. Again, those planters kind of come out to create some separation between the sidewalk and the units themselves. And again, with the use of color and the materiality, kind of pull that out. And then materials wise, I think that I just got, so I got a couple of other things, but let me see here on this packet. Again, we got the landscape plan that goes a little bit more into the weeds on, what the materiality is there, and how the hardscape and streetscape works, mechanical details, etc. And let's see, so that was all that was in that package. And then since we filed that, I've got sections that we've been working on. So this gives you an idea of 2 section locations in the building. Again, to give you an idea of kind of scale. So the upper image is at the existing kind of in between, kind of where the existing house is, cross sectional at the step down of the building. And then when you look at the lower image, it's up the street a little bit further. So now you're seeing the new construction, the townhouse, little step back there. And you'll notice the property lines there and the street trees. That dimensional element to those front of those townhouses was purposely try to retain something that kind of followed along with those porch lines. And then taking that kind of notch there, almost, again, kind of mimicking that as it transitions from kind of the old to the new. And on the other one we had, I believe I've got, this is kind of a landscape render, so it's just starting to kind of, again, explain a little bit more of what's going on as we're starting to think about the treatment in front of historic homes, and again, along Speedway and Euclid. The last one I thought I had is elevation, streetscape, and that, yes. So that's kind of where we're at in the package so far. Putting together a shade study and some additional details, but wanted to kind of share with you what we've developed so far. Get your feedback and thoughts, and anything in particular you'd like to see us detail some more. I have the design team on the line, listening in, and happy to answer your questions you have.
Okay, thank you. All right, open for discussion. Again, reminding everyone this is a courtesy review. Comments from the board?
So my initial reaction is that I like the north elevation. I like the shading that you're doing with the windows. I like the material. Why don't we get that on the west elevation? It looks really nice there, and I think you dropped the ball on the west elevation. I don't see the shading for those really hot west facing windows. I don't like the white material. It doesn't reflect the neighborhood. It's like you got it right on the Speedway side, but I don't look at the Speedway side. I look at the Euclid side. So that's just my knee jerk, and take it or leave it. But that's kind of where I'm at. I mean, let's face it, those west facing windows, those folks need some protection. And and I think with those recessed windows and stuff like that you did on the north side, may offer that, but I'm not. And then I was looking at the district, and they had little horizontal elements above the windows, to provide some protection from afternoon sun and things of that nature. So not to tell you how to do your job, and you said there's a shade study in the works, so maybe that study would make these comments evident to you on your own right. We'll leave it at that.
I do. I think the shade studies for the street, Jim.
Okay,
Not necessarily for the building apartment units proper.
yeah.
Jim, all good comments, and again, I got the design team listening on, so we'll take a look at that west face and see what there's some ideas on how to soften that, especially from the sun in the afternoon.
Yeah, unfortunately, Jim, for east and west exposures, without having, a panel that straight up blocks the window, it's really hard to shade anything for the east and the west. North and south you can shade all day, but east and west, without actual like louvers or something, it doesn't really, it's just harder to do in general.
Well, just because it's hard doesn't mean these brilliant architects can't do it.
Well, it's not that it's hard is the wrong word. It's impossible to shade them unless you put something in front of them. Like you have to physically block them based on how the sun travels. So it would have to be like louvers, or they'd have to be like, actually they could be in the west facade, but then they'd be like back and actually like notched in and actually facing north or south, something like that.
Didn't Bob Bent do something like that for that hotel he was thinking of putting in south of the Geronimo? He had some trippy window treatment, but
yeah, you'd have to basically rotate. The window itself wouldn't be facing west anymore. It would be facing like north or south. Like I said, you'd have to like notch it in, and then so you can, it's doable, but also takes up a lot of square footage and makes it not doable in a lot of cases.
Yeah, I'd like to bring up a different subject if that's okay.
Go ahead, Damon.
In general, I think the stepping back of the height is a nice feature. It kind of transitions like the massing of the structure away from Euclid. I was wondering why you, or what your thought process was around the retained buildings, because the mass of this structure seems to like really dwarf them, and it might work a little nicer. Of course, it takes up your volume, which I'm sure you don't like, but it feels a little bit, I don't know, like, to be honest, they sort of look silly, like they're not even real or something next to this huge structure.
Well, Darren, good question. I think part of the balancing act has been, and Jason, correct me if I'm wrong, but we've got some limitations on the size and depth of what we can do with the footprint of the building in that location. So the challenge for us really is a skinning one, and trying to find a way to balance the two out. Jason, as far as design thought and scale there, and maybe just this imagery too, because I'm thinking as I'm looking at this, the umbrellas are a little out of scale of the buildings. So I'm kind of wondering if that was taken out and it was you were looking at it more open, if that starts
Yeah,
to change
yeah. I mean, we're working with the kind of in a development agreement that we have, which kind of addresses the massing, and we tried to utilize some of that that front area, which Noel referred to as that hound home treatments, as kind of a scale factor. So there's some datum lines that kind of align with the roof cornices to attempt to scale those buildings and bring them in. To Noel's point on the umbrellas, yeah, those were, if you remove those would open up the scale a little bit, and we've got Norris Design landscaping the frontages of those to kind of increase the walkability along that street. So I think a couple of those key pedestrian elements of scale will help make that feel more appropriate. I'm not sure if that answered your question.
And I think also, I mean, and just kind of give you an idea of kind of scale too, it doesn't, I think, show real well in the render, but the building does have this kind of step back void in here that's kind of blocked by the way that render is coming across, and then detailing out, you kind of see how they sit. Again, trying to keep that front mass kind of parallel. It's and so hopefully some of that will detail out a little better in the renders once we because you can start to kind of see here. There's that piece. There's a pretty deep precision in it.
Yeah, if you go back to this image, I guess I might have liked it more had you stepped back a little further around the retained buildings and maybe traded some height there for elsewhere. But that's just one person's opinion.
Yeah, I had a lot of pushing and pulling on this one. So
it just feels like, this really dwarfs those retained structures. And I think being conscious of the massing around them can minimize that effect. And so I'd recommend maybe thinking about that a little more. I don't know if other folks have opinions too, but
and there just a question or thought is like if there was a color or material shift at the kind of at that roof line level that pulled your eye away for a little bit more, with that, do you think that might help a little bit with the scale impression? I don't know if that might not.
Yeah, it might, because it certainly seems harsher on that part of the building than it does on the white part where you have the gray stuff.
Yeah,
so that is something to consider.
Okay, yeah, we'll take a look at it. Because as I'm kind of looking at it, I kind of think this feels a little softer, and I kind of go over here and I see your point.
Yeah, right. I'm kind of the same point. I think color will help. I think you probably drew them the colors that they currently are, the existing buildings, but it does sort of like, it really kind of punches you in the face when you look at it compared to the building in the back.
And I guess as a broader question, if as we're playing with color palette, would there be any concerns if we were, obviously we stick within period appropriate for those homes, but exploring some alternative colors maybe on those houses as far as?
Yeah, I would do that. We're not hung up on the color of the existing homes. I mean, I wouldn't start doing polka dot or anything, but
well, I think that gives Jason a few more arrows in his quiver there as we start to think about.
I think using color is definitely something you guys should consider as a way to make it less, to make it work a little better. And then also, yeah, the treatment in front of it, I don't know. I mean, I agree with Damon. It'd be nice if that particular 7-story red section had a step back, maybe at halfway up or something, and just push the mass back. But I understand you're kind of working with some constraints. But just think about it. It really is not. It doesn't look good right now. And then what is the material of the facade going to be made of? I mean, I see how you've done this rendering in color, but what is it?
Jason, you want to walk through the facade treatment?
Sure, happy to. So the kind of the reddish color is stucco. An EFA system, so is the white. The kind of dark gray is a Ceraclad, which is a cementitious panel.
Yeah.
And I'll have more of a stone look. And then the infill red is a stucco as well. And then we have a stone base to mimic the stone bases around the neighborhood.
Okay. My other comment, again, Rick speaking, did I see that the windows are vinyl?
Currently, we are going through estimating. Currently, I think in the proposal we have right now, they are fiberglass. But
Fiberglass. Okay.
But we need to, kind of depends on where the estimating goes for final construction.
And you're not even considering aluminum?
Not currently.
What are do you know what the other complexes, apartments around you, like the Hub and such, you know what they're made of, the windows?
I do not.
I can layer in a little bit of information here. This is Lou. In a commercial application, you don't have the same bandwidth of building materials because of how they build these windows. So I don't know that it would be economically feasible to do kind of what we require of an individual commercial or residential home.
Well, I will say though that while I don't disagree with you, vinyl in particular, notwithstanding the fact that our design guidelines call that out as a material to not use, we want to make sure that you're using a material that is going to be durable, especially on the west side. And I think part of the reason we don't like vinyl is because it's historically not durable in this environment. So you don't want this building to look great on these renderings, and then 5 years from now, maybe not so much.
That's a good point.
Yeah, we are working with local manufacturers. I think Pella is our basis of design right now. So they're very aware of the harsh environment that gets put onto these windows and making sure that we do have a building that lasts. So we can take that into consideration and revisit that with them.
I really strongly suggest you get yourself convinced that the material for the windows that's being proposed is something that is suitable for this environment. And Pella is a great company and everything, but they make windows for the entire planet, not just Tucson. Right? You know what I mean? Just because they said it's fine doesn't do me any good. I mean, they really thought about what this is going to look like in Tucson, Arizona, in our sun, at our humidity level, blah 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 blah, over the life of this building.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll take some homework on that.
Okay. Other comments from the board for these guys?
So just to clarify, I haven't come across using fiberglass windows before, but I was just doing a little bit of Googling, and it says that they do really well actually in the heat. Fiberglass is not vinyl. Vinyl is a very different thing. So just to throw that out there, that it being fiberglass might not be a bad choice.
Oh, I think we've actually liked the composite materials like fiberglass in the past. I thought I saw drawing that it said vinyl specifically in what we presented.
Yeah, I think
Oh.
that was a miss by Noel. He sat on enough of these and heard about the vinyl. So that shouldn't have made it on this package.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
it's I'll take one for the architect on that one. How's that sound?
Yeah.
Well,
And-
and it might just be worth pointing out that we're working with Core Construction as the GC, and they're out of Arizona. So they're giving us some insight, as well as
Mhm.
also working with a local building enclosure specialist, Field Verify. So we're talking all through these material selections that make sense for the Tucson environment for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, and to the point, Roger, we'll make sure that we've got a little bit more detail on those as well. So I do understand the concerns. So
I think you're hearing from us that just when we see the final package, this is a courtesy review. That material and why it's suitable is going to be something that's kind of important to us. And I also agree with Rachel's point that we have said yes to fiberglass in the past, by exception. It's not called out in our guidelines, but we have seen evidence that some of these other composite materials, not vinyl, are suitable.
Right.
Okay. Any other comments or questions from the board?
And anything in particular you want to see us detail besides that? Any other thoughts, or is we generally going in the right direction here with the plan sets? Like I said, we have a little bit more detail to do, but I just want to make sure we've got enough information for y'all for when we bring it back.
I think we're good.
Right. All right.
All right. Okay. Back to you, Noel.
All right. Well, I will move over to my my 10:30 demo one. Hopefully I can make this short and sweet. This is a little piece of building that is on the back side of the 1030 building. It's a non-contributing addition. I suspect I think we came down with it, probably went in the 40s. But it's an actual, it looks in the aerial like it's an attached addition, but as you can see in the drawing, it's actually a detached structure where they just integrated it, kind of punched into the roof, and I'll show you the detail of that. We had Roger go ahead and put together the documentation on it. Again, happy to answer any questions on it. But at the end of the day, you can see in the imagery here in particular, this is the existing or the historic roof line, and then you can see how they brought this roof line in here and attached it. There's actually a breezeway in here, and you can clearly see the roofing material and the roof design changing as you get around the structure with the way that they did the eaves. Again, not exactly a architecturally exciting structure. And so we've got like I said, we've got that documentation packet. Happy to answer any questions on it. To get to the kind of the meat and potatoes of it, our overall plan here for its removal from the structure. Again, we're in a situation where luckily it's not attached, so the existing back of the house hasn't been modified. But we do have our because we'll be using this as we move forward a little later with the rehab for the whole house. Window and door plans similar to what we did with the other units. And then let's see, well, let me move to my next page. There we go. There we go. So again, more detail on each one of the elevations. This right here in the lower corner shows you where that structure sits today. Those windows are there, so we're just making note of that. But the eave detail up here in 3 shows you, where that existing roof is, and then where there's been this line of this addition. Obviously, we won't know until we get into that how exactly they did that. But we'll basically, the instructions to the contractor will be to restore that eave to its original condition, and obviously it's be re-roofed. So we have the detail on that as well as well as some additional photographs if there are any questions on any of that. But we would like to hopefully get your recommendation that this non-contributing element could be removed, subject to the obviously the repair of the roof. as we go forward. So I'll be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Is this a separate review, or is this still a courtesy review? Or?
No, this is a formal review
Okay.
for a demo.
Yeah.
This is a motion to approve as presented.
This is
Second.
Lou, I second.
Okay, we have a motion and we have a second. Do we have discussion? Hearing none, I have a motion and a second to approve as presented. All in favor, aye?
Jim Clark, aye.
Rachel, Sarah, I.
Let
Sarah.
Nabel, I.
Fajardo, aye.
Mick McDonald, aye, and Damon, I assume you're an aye.
Yes, aye.
Aye, okay. All right, here we go, easy peasy.
Thank you. Well, appreciate it. And hopefully we'll see you next month with some more drawings on the other one.
Awesome. Okay, all right, guys, thank you very much.
They know. I got a call from a reporter at Arizona Public Media who wants to learn more about your project. I forwarded her contact information to Joe. Arizona Public Media, as you know, is our NPR station that's housed at the University of Arizona. So,
Oh, excellent. Thank you for doing that, Jim.
and then I sent them along to Joel Ireland as well. So, is Joel in the country, or is he off traveling in the world somewhere?
I think he's in town, but don't quote me on that because I've only had him on calls.
Hey guys, can you hear
We
me?
have Sam on the
Hey, Sam.
phone.
This is
Sam,
his
Dad
son
around?
Sam.
Yeah,
This
Sam
is
here.
his son Sam. Yeah, I've been listening to the conversation. We just got back from San Diego. I'm at my house. Yeah, we just got back into town. Who called from AZPM? Was it what was the woman's name?
Oh, hang on just a sec. I think it was Hannah.
Okay. I will I'll alert my dad to that when I talk to him. I'll give him a ring and tell him
Yeah,
to
if
look
you
out for
can,
email him.
if you can hack into his email, you'd see the stuff that
Yeah.
he's saying.
Okay, cool. I'll call him and give him a heads up about that. And then I just wanted to say, like, I don't think anyone's on the first person who presented about the windows and stuff. I feel like he should, I don't know if anyone can pass this along, but that seems to be entirely the architect's fault.
Well,
And
I
I
think we
feel like
all
he has.
sort of agree on that, Sam, but
So,
No,
so
and if
that
I'm
item
not
is
on the
done.
board, then
Sam,
yeah,
Sam,
okay, I'll shut up. I'll shut up. Okay.
I'm not
Thanks.
asking you
Okay.
to shut up. I'm just asking that we kind of move on
Okay.
on the agenda. So,
Okay, that's it. Yeah, I'll tell my dad about the AZPM thing. Sorry,
Okay,
thanks.
thank you very much. Okay, that concludes item 4. Item 5, staff updates.
I do not have any staff updates for you.
Okay. Item 6, future agenda.
Wait. That was item 5?
Yeah,
Okay. Were we gonna,
yes, we are. Just stand by.
okay,
Any future agenda items?
Well, the new construction at the southeast corner of Euclid and Speedway will be coming back to you as a formal review.
Right.
Probably relatively soon. It's going to go to PRS next week as a courtesy review, and then we'll be looking to agendize that quickly afterwards as a formal review.
Okay, perfect. And that's it for,
That's it for right now. I'm still digging out of a hole from vacation, so that's
yeah,
what I have for you.
appreciate that. So quasi future agenda item, I think I copied everybody on the board on this, and Jody and I talked a little bit today about emergency reviews for repairing roof damage. Jody, kind of bring everybody up to speed. I didn't appreciate that there was actually something in the code about this.
Yeah, so there is a code section under minor reviews related to emergency work that needs to be done. Namely that if it's a replacement in kind, they're doing wood shingle or shingles for shingles, sorry, not wood, but shingles for shingles. That they can do that as a minor review. It's always helpful if you're aware of somebody that's submitted for that they email us and let us know the permit number so we can kind of be on the lookout for it and push it along. If they just have like a small, I don't know, 5x5 patch of like shingles that got ripped off and they need to replace those, then it's maintenance. Go ahead and do that. If it's because you're just patching, it's not a big deal. But if it is something that needs to be the whole roof, then it would be a minor review. I would say too that you never know when rains are going to hit. And it freaks me out when I see people and they're like, I need to get my roof replaced. And I'm like, put a tarp on it in the meantime, just to protect it. You kind of want to recommend that because I can do as much as I can do to push you through, but I have no control over your roofer. And frankly, the rest of the permitting process, I don't have a lot of control over. So put a tarp on it to protect it as much as possible. Was that what you were looking for, Rick, or did you want more information?
So I know Jim had brought up to me that we've been getting some phone calls from folks who've sustained damage and want to know what the process is for getting their roofs repaired. I think the best we can do process-wise is, and Jim, you and I might want to convince offline about a blast on the website and maybe to the listserv. Letting people know that if it's a repair of a small area, not the whole roof, then do it and you don't need to do anything. I think telling people that is helpful because I'm sure some people will fall into that category. And then secondly, just go online, get a permit number, and not only send it to Jody, but maybe copy me on it as well. Just, so we have eyes on it and we can kind of help push it along so it doesn't get lost.
And Michael. Don't forget Michael.
And Michael, yeah. And then there may be a reason why I need some of you on the board to help me on my side be available just to help expedite, doing these minor reviews. They're all Zoom meetings and they're short. If it's just shingles, and I don't think we get too hung up on anything if it's just shingles and they're not doing any other stuff, and try and move it as fast as we can. And I think what I'm hearing from Jody is that Michael's pretty good about, and I do agree with this, for the minor reviews. Once it gets in his queue, he can get the meetings scheduled pretty quickly. And then, the city can do the best they can do to kind of move them along. But there is a expedite language in the UDC, which I wasn't aware of. So, okay. Dan.
I was going to ask a question, and I'm sure nobody will appreciate my poking at this, but if we're talking about asphalt shingle replacement and our design guides allow asphalt shingles, why are we we're asking people to protect their homes. Like, why make it hard for them? Why can't people just do asphalt shingles if it's a like for like replacement? Why does there even need to be a review? I'm asking.
Because the code speaks to it, even if it's a like for like. The code addresses it as a item that needs a permit.
So it's really the fact that it's permitted work that drives it into the historic review process?
Yeah. And to be clear, it's permitted for the HPZs. If you are in some other neighborhood that's not historically designated as an HPZ, you can replace your asphalt shingles and you can replace, and Rachel, sorry, I put you on the spot for this one. Rachel can correct me if I'm wrong, but you're allowed to replace like a couple of sheets of decking and not get a permit. But if you have to replace all of your decking, then it becomes a bigger issue.
Is there?
Yeah, I think honestly, if it's like repairing like for like, I don't know that you would need to get a permit outside of a historic zone. Like if someone wants to replace their roofing,
yeah,
I don't know that they need a permit to do that. They just replace their roofing. But if it's the same material.
Yeah.
So, yeah, coming into the historic zone, that's what makes it all complicated and everything else. I would say sort of what Jody mentioned, and it sounds like the zoning code already has something in there, which I didn't realize, which is great to know. But yeah, if you have damage and you're making a repair, that's different than replacing your whole roof. That's like, you know, if you had a broken window, like a piece of glass that was broken in your window, you just fix that glass. You wouldn't go, you know what I mean? I don't know. It seems kind of silly to have to do that. I agree, David, that it's silly. That's what I'm saying.
I mean, is there a way for WUZAB to recommend that for the HPC for like asphalt shingle, like for like replacement, that it shouldn't need a permit?
That would be a code. So that would be a code change.
It's that,
So
Yeah, but we are a body who could write a letter. I mean, it's the long-term solution to the issue that Rick and Jim are bringing up, and it does seem silly to me. I mean, it's not like storms are uncommon. There's like asphalt shingles all over West University right now. It's kind of crazy.
yeah.
and then that's something that you could do. I mean, so if you want to, you can pull in your ward office, your council member, and kind of start that conversation. I think Damon's on the right path. He's recognizing it is a little bit long-term kind of thing, but something that, you know, they do code updates regularly. I don't see why they couldn't include something like this, that if it's a like for like, but you know, I would start with the ward office and kind of express your feelings about it, that it should be readily done. And it's something then that they would bring up, and then the mayor and council would initiate it. And then it would be, once it's initiated, staff would start working on it to get it through the process. Because it's not a quick process.
Yeah.
It's, you know, it is a process to get that going. But again, if it's, you know, if it's a patch, like you're just repairing, go ahead and do it. And, you know, get it done. If it's the whole roof, it is a minor review. And we try to, you know, when we know that it's coming and we know that there's an urgency associated with it, you know, we try to push it through. So we just have to know about it, because if we don't know about it, it's just sitting in the queue. It's a long queue that we all have. So they just have to let us know via email or something.
So, Rick, is that something we need to agendize and discuss as a WUZAB board to send a letter to our council office to begin this process, or is it something that we can just do?
I can put it on the next agenda and then you guys can take a vote on it. In the past, when some of the boards, other boards have written a letter, we've agendized it. Somebody has like done a draft, and then it's reviewed to make sure that it gets all of your points. It's reviewed during the meeting, and then they take a vote on it. If you want to do it that way.
Okay. Jody, what's the code that, again, numbers that I would want to take a look at and reference?
Yeah. Jim, I knew you were gonna.
You don't have to do it. Do it offline.
Why don't you do it offline? Yeah, I mean,
I think it's a good idea that we do this as a board. I think that that's a really important thing, Damon, for bringing that up for future stuff and referencing, like you said, referencing the existing code. And I think it coming from a board that has a little bit of weight, it would be better than like individuals writing letters.
Okay.
oh no,
The code applies to all historic zones, correct?
Correct. So if you did this and it went through, then it would be all of them that would have the same impact.
Right. Okay, I like this idea. I don't think the other HPZ boards are going to have a problem with it. This is the
I
biggest.
think that just means we need to make sure we are very careful with the language of a like for like material that is approved for your guidelines of your specific neighborhood, something along those lines.
And ultimately, ultimately, once the language is crafted, like, because mayor and council, you would get mayor and council to initiate it, they would initiate it, staff would start working on it. It would be presented to all of the advisory boards for input. So I think like, I forget, there was something that was a change and it got shopped around to everybody so that they understood what it entailed and the impact of it and everything like that. So expect that it would come back to you.
Yeah, but I like the idea. I think, Damon, I really appreciate you bringing that up. This is the process we make people go through, and the amount of time it takes to just do asphalt shingle replacement doesn't seem value added. And it actually hurts some of our people.
Well, and then also it's just pulling Jody and Michael away from things that they don't, it's a waste of time for lots of people.
And having done these minor reviews like a billion times, it's not,
Yeah.
it's not a value added review. It really isn't.
Right.
Hey Jim, it's 5.8.C.1
And that's in the UDC.
That is in the UDC.
Okay.
5.8.8 lowercase c point capital one, the number 1 point lowercase b.
Yeah, the C is actually uppercase. I should have mentioned
Thank you.
that. Sorry.
Okay, I'll get there.
Okay. All right.
Thank you, Jody.
Uh-huh.
Okay. But in the meantime, we need to get something out, Jim, to let people know they can do repairs, maintenance repairs on small areas of their roof without any permissions, and then shoot an email to me, to Jody, get a permit, and we'll push it as fast as we can. Okay. All right. And that's it for future agenda items. With that, item 7, adjournment. It is 7:47. Remarkably, we're 13 minutes early. Without objection, we are adjourned. All have a good night.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
everybody.
you.
All right, thank you.
Good night, everybody.